Hey everyone, this is your weekly episode of the Zephyr podcast where we talk about all things Zephyr, open source, embedded, lots of other cool stuff. I am Benjamin, your co host.
And I'm Fabio, your other co-host.
So, Fabio, I was wondering the other day, do you think there's more humans or more cows wearing or using Zephyr these days?
That is a very that is an oddly specific question, but cows. It's going to be cows, right?
I don't know, possibly. Yeah, it felt like a loaded question, right? Possibly, the reason for starting off with this possibly stupid joke is that the other day I was seeing this post trending on I think it was on the embedded subreddit, or possibly on Hacker News, or possibly both. We will put a link in the notes, but it's these two guys out of Australia who built wearables for cows, and they have this really well polished, really well produced video where they go through their journey of quitting their job. I think they were like building PCBs or motherboards, or I don't really remember, but they are now building wearables using for cows using Zephyr, and yeah, it kind of feels like Zephyr is becoming mainstream, even more so. In that, and back to the original joke, there's literally a handful of companies that do that already, right? Like we have our good friend Jordan from Australia as well. Their company, among other things, is doing wearable for cows using TinyML and LoRaWAN and whatnot. And there's some projects out of Europe as well. Seems like it's a big thing for the project.
Wow, there's surprisingly amount of competition in the wearable for cows business. Who'd have thought?
Yeah,
uh,
right. And I wonder the fashion aspect, if that's a factor. But,
yeah, let's not get there. Cool video, new channel for the guys. They have 876 subscriber at this moment. They say we walked away from designing complex x86 motherboards. My God, my first company, we had some x86 product with the Atom. Yeah, I can see how you would rather work on cows than that. So good on them. Good on them. We'll see. We'll see how the channel picks up. Hopefully, we'll see more from these guys.
but yeah, that was really nice to see. I guess we can follow up with our usual round of industry news. What did you spot anything interesting
There's,
last week or
there's
so?
quite some news to unpack, and we should mention we're back from FOSDEM, so we were a bit immersed in the open source thing, and lot of talking. So one of the things that got thrown at me was the recent SparkFun and Adafruit drama. There's a lot to unfold, and I didn't quite get all of it, though the friends at Arduino explained it to me. I'm not gonna get into the details. Just do your own research if you care. But yeah, there's been the two open hardware companies looks like they don't really love each other anymore, and SparkFun decided to not sell their board through Adafruit. And this is interesting because of Tinksy. So Tinksy is a fairly popular development board.
Is it still? I wanted to ask you because
I think it has a bit of a cult behind it. Some people really like it and keep using it. I don't know. I haven't seen a ton of projects recently, but it's a good platform, right? They placed it as a bit of a more powerful Arduino, and people were doing some more computational intensive applications with it. And the key for that project was the bootloader. I think that my understanding was that the CPU that they were using wasn't really very well suitable for a maker style board. And so what the guys did was put a secondary small microcontroller with a bootloader that gets loaded on the main CPU via SWD or something, which would make it effectively a self-hosted board, something like that. And I think they sell it on a license as well. Anyway, this was kind of the Tinksy brand, and SparkFun, my understanding was that was the exclusive manufacturer for the platform. So you're not going to be able to buy it from Adafruit anymore. What Adafruit did was saying that they are going to make their own clone. So this is probably going to bring some segmentation to the market. I'm not sure how the Tingsy folks are gonna take it. As far as I understand, the Tingsy project is really a guy and his wife from Australia as well. So it was a very much a home business. It's a bit sad to see this stuff, right? Like, come on, guys, just be friends with each other. So yeah, if you see Tingsy clone from Adafruit, that's the reason. Can you do more news?
Right.
More
What
news?
else? I guess kind of, well, but we're talking about Raspberry Pi proper, not the Pi core, right? There is some RAM madness these days, and due to the RAM increase, I think the Raspberry Pi Foundation is looking at ways to work around that.
Yeah, I think everyone did, right? So the RAM madness continues. Prices are going up. If you try to build a computer these days, yeah, don't. But yeah, this is having repercussion on the embedded world as well. So the normal Pi stuff looks like they went through another price increase, which is kind of annoying because it used to be a pretty cost-effective platform. Is now becoming pretty pricey. We'll see what's going to happen. And the other interesting thing is that it went so far that the Pi Foundation decided to do a revision of the Raspberry Pi 4 to add a second run chip on the bottom of the board. Imagine being the engineer that is tasked to pick up the design for the Pi 4, which went through quite something when they released it earlier, right? And yeah, let's add the second run chip. It's oh my god, that's a significant redesign of the PCB, right? So yeah, never ends.
Yep. And I guess even closer to home or to the Zephyr project and community, one big news. So we're recording this on Friday. I think this hit the PR wire on Wednesday. Texas Instruments is to acquire Silicon Labs for 7.5 billion in cash. And that's I don't think anyone saw that coming.
No, we used to have 1 or 2 years some time ago when it was like the year of consolidation of electronics companies, right? I wonder if there's going to be another wave. Anyway,
Yeah,
all right.
you were making the joke on Discord. I think like will we see in a couple of months people renaming or rebranding
No.
all the compatibles device tree wise? I don't think so. I hope not, because I mean those acquisitions they happen all the time. So then I don't think it makes even sense to try and rename. Maybe in 2 years' time, it's going to be yet another merge. So yeah, I think we just need to embrace that in the silicon industry and electronics industry. Yeah, those Maxim chips that people use,
Exactly.
they are Maxim chips, whatever.
Well, I suppose the new one are gonna have the ADI vendor prefix, right? But it's the same with Microchip and Atmel, and the same with all of them. And we were joking about it in the chat on Discord today, and I pulled out the binding for the Motorola real-time clock chip.
Yeah,
exactly like that. But I think it's good news, right? So TI has good chips. C-Labs has a lot of chips that are supported in upstream Zephyr. So yeah, maybe we'll see some consolidation of at least the open source effort, which I think have been a bit more substantial on the C-Labs side rather than on TI. We'll see what happens. I like TI.
Yeah, right. And I think, we will be probably talking a bit about what we saw at FOSDEM, but maybe we can go through some of the interesting issues, pull requests in the project, either in flight or things that just got merged. Fresh off the press, Nicola, one of our kernel collaborators, is proposing something that I think was discussed a while back, but the option to add canary support so that people can, so that the system can detect a potential corruption of the heap. And so those canaries are effectively markers, I guess, that you have in the heap, and that allow you to figure out when things go wrong. So did you have a look? I think it's really just like 100 lines of code or something. If I remember.
It's surprisingly compact. I was really expecting some heavyweight instrumentation of the heap functionalities of the memory allocation things, but no, it's actually the implementation is fairly compact. And what I like is that this only adds 8 bytes overhead per allocation. So Nicolas said that this is intended for debugging and validation builds, but I don't know. I don't see why you could potentially use it on a production firmware, because the problem with heavy instrumentation subsystem like address annotation is that they're very heavyweight, right? So at some point you're going to have if you have a firmware that is close to the resources of your device, if your instrumentation stuff is too heavy, you can't use it. But no, this one you can use it on the hardware and may as well stay there. Oh, so yeah, no, good job. It's very interesting. The implementation is yeah, like you can understand. I can understand it. So
Yeah. And as always, I guess as a reminder, even if that's only 8 bytes of overhead, this is just like any other feature in Zephyr, something that's optional, right? And so you turn it on or off using kconfig, and if you don't want it, you get those 8 bytes back, or at least you don't add them to your as overhead. So yeah, that's cool. Kind of related, or is it? I think it's you who put this in the notes, so you will have to talk through it. But ARM v9
Akabati, oh gee, I regret putting this already.
pointer
I know
authentication.
nothing about it.
Why did you put it in the notes? Like we're
Because
gonna look like fools
because
again.
it looks cool, yeah. But so this is also from Nicolas. It looks like he's working on like safety stuff for ARM. Yeah, it looks interesting from the name because I don't quite understand it. But so he's adding support. This is for ARM64, right? So it's kind of limited in where it applies, but it's adding pointer authentication and branch target identification. And it's some fancy ARM thing that is going to protect against some specific attacks on your device. I suppose is some
Right. So
exploitation of memory overload.
as opposed to the feature just before, this one is really like a hardware feature, whereas the other one was just purely a software solution that would work across all architectures.
Yeah, my understanding is that this is actually something that you would ship in your production firmware, keep it active. And I suppose it'd be very useful if you have a network connected device or anything like that, where you could reasonably expect a buffer overflow to be exploited. And these are probably, seems like, way of protecting from that causing trouble. It's good stuff. This is the type of functionality that you would normally see in a proper application processor operating system, like on Linux or something. Yeah, we're getting them, which is good.
Yeah, cool. All right. So before we discuss some of the FOSDEM news, let's go briefly through some of the hardware news, like drivers, boards that we found that just got merged and are not worthy. I think the big one, we briefly discussed it a few months back or weeks back, but this is the biometrics subsystem, the new driver class. So effectively a new abstraction for all things fingerprint sensors, and I mean potentially more like iris recognition, whatever, like those kind of devices. So yeah, pull request is merged. It's pretty complete. Shell commands, drivers, emulators, a code sample, and this is only the beginning, right? Like the couple of fingerprint sensors seem to be fitting that the API. If you have drivers and sensors of yours you want to port, please do it. This is, as always, introduced as an experimental API initially, so it's not like it's set in stone. If the original contributor and the reviewers forgot a few use cases, we can still tune the API. But this is great. I'm looking forward to see how this will integrate with some of the like hardware security features we have in Zephyr, and like how this subsystem can maybe leverage the things we have for crypto and like hardware secure modules and stuff like that. But yeah, cool stuff.
Yeah, and it looks, for an experimental API, it's pretty complete. It's nice to see it. I mean, it's a 2 driver, emulation, code sample, shell commands. does everything. Good.
Yeah, really cool. What else? Did you? I think you've noted a couple drivers you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, just something new. It was a pretty busy week. So, new driver from Maxim. It's a watchdog. It's a Max 42500. This is interesting because it's a combined voltage monitor and time-based watchdog. So it has 7 input, and it can do under voltage and over voltage monitoring, as well as the periodic thing where you feed the watchdog, otherwise going to reset your CPU. Interesting device.
So
I don't know,
this is one of those MFDs then, multifunction device.
Everything has been put under watchdog, so kind of yes, but in practice no, because we don't really have a different subsystem for the voltage monitoring functionality. But it's its own I2C device, so you can add it on any MCU. It's cool. I like it.
I see. I would have thought in like voltage monitor would have been a sensor or a regulator.
I mean, anything can be a sensor if you
Yeah,
screw
sure. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, hardware-wise, it's a cool piece of hardware for sure. Okay, and
the other one is the Netsol S3A series MRAM. So it's a magneto-resistive RAM up to like 2 megabytes or something. This fits under the flash subsystem. So I guess that these are a good alternative if you need a flash and you have to rewrite it a lot. This should give you byte level access, or at least better granularity than a traditional flash. We start to see these more and more. So yeah, good stuff. More variation of things. I guess it's technically not a flash. It's still under flash.
Right. And then it looks like I finally have an excuse to actually get my hands dirty with the Renesas RX architecture. Like this was added a couple releases ago, I think. If I don't want to say anything wrong, but if I remember correctly, Renesas RX is basically sort of an alternative to ARM Cortex M, basically. And it looks like there's a fancy, or at least like an affordable dev kit out there, for which the support just got added to Zephyr. So for like 10 euros, you have this board with CAN bus and all your GPIOs and so on, and Renesas RX. And so, yeah, personally, like I really want to try it out.
Something different.
What's the form factor? I guess I could click the link, and you've looked at it, Fabio. Yeah, is this like Arduino shape or?
It's not quite Arduino shape. Like it doesn't have the normal Arduino outline, but it's an Arduino.
Right. Okay. It has the Arduino headers. There's that. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Nothing particularly remarkable about it. It's very much a general purpose CPU, but it's cheap. And it's something different that is not an ARM or
That's very remarkable.
Yeah, I guess so.
Awesome. All right. So I don't know about you, but it took me a few days to recover after FOSDEM.
Yeah,
to get my voice back and to get all the germs out of my system. Still there, probably. I probably still sound a bit weird. But yeah, it was really nice to meet lots of people from the community. And although there's like 15 or even more tracks in parallel and dev rooms, I think you, Fabio, managed to make it into a few quite interesting talks. And we thought it would be worthwhile. There were some pieces of news and things that really you would only hear there at FOSDEM. So we thought we would be sharing with you all, starting with Git 3.0.
Yeah, so this was a talk from one of the core contributors. He works at GitLab, I think. It was one of the opening talk in the main room, and it talks about some of the upcoming features of Git. I didn't quite grasp when they are planning to release 3.0, but yeah, they dropped a couple of bombs on it. So apparently they are planning to change the default for the main hash of the objects, which is quite a significant change. It's apparently a follow-up from recent evolution of like mass computing infrastructure, right? They're afraid that you could soon have the capability of intentionally create object collisions. So they want to switch to SHA-256, and Git support, like your version of Git that you have right now probably supports it already. You can create a new repository with the new format. There's a flag. It looks really weird. I tried it out. You get these very long hashes. The problem is that, well, there's two problems. First, that I think, how do you use the term, like the forges for like GitHub and GitLab? They don't support it. If you make a repository in SHA-256 and try to upload it on GitHub, it's gonna go like nope. So they want to switch it as a default to 3.0 to try and push the GitHub and alike to start supporting it. And it's a major change, right? Because it's not compatible. This wasn't very clear to me. I had to play with the functionality a bit. So I created a repository with SHA-256, another one with SHA-1, try to import one to another. The moment you fetch it, it's going like, yeah, nope, you're not going to do that, obviously, right?
And so are they, so besides this, which seems that it could be sort of disruptive, did you hear about any upcoming features that could be relevant, useful for us, like in the context of Zephyr and the Zephyr 3?
Yeah, I think that the more interesting stuff was the new, so two features. First, that they are recognizing that some of the advanced functionality, well, not even that advanced, some of the functionality that are used in normal workflow are a bit too complicated for newcomers. So obviously, if you've been using this stuff for a while, you'll be tempted to go like, no, there's no problem. But no, so they're planning to have some new commands for rewriting the history. So the idea is that there's going to be a git history command that is going to help you with rebases and stuff like that. So when you do changes as a reaction to a code review, you need to clean up the history. Yeah, apparently they're planning to add some more intuitive command to help with that. And the other major feature that has been discussed is binary diff. So they are kind of accepting the fact that people are pushing binaries on Git. And the current situation is that you either let the repository grow out of control, which is not great, or use Git LFS, which is also not great because you need a separate system, is a plugin, etc. So they want to have binary files, some better binary file support, both in terms of incremental diff, but also in allowing you to configure a content distribution system for the binary file. So you're going to have your server with the main repository, and it can be configured to tell the client to get the binary file from mirrors or other repositories. It's going to take a while for that stuff to arrive, and it's probably going to take even longer for the forges, whatever, for all the hosting services to adopt it. But it's nice to see that the Git folks are looking into this stuff, because we, on the upstream repository, we have the pictures of the board, which we're trying to keep under control because they take space, right?
That's true. Yeah, and we can probably find a solution that that's completely independent from Git. Like we could we could have these not live in Git at all. But
yeah, that would be the idea, like hosting them separately. But
then things could break in other ways. But we need to look into that at some point. Speaking of Git, and I should mention that the FOSDEM, for those who have never been to FOSDEM, it's like is it like a 25th year plus or something? 20 plus for sure.
26, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And so it's really, it's only volunteers. It's a very professional conference in that pretty much on Monday morning, you would have already all the recordings, all the sessions available on the website. So all the links that we will be posting to those couple talks that we thought are not worthy, check them out, but check out essentially the entire program, and you have probably hundreds of hours of videos already available. So yeah, back to Git workflow for high stakes projects.
Yeah, so this one was more of a general how to use Git properly. type of presentation. It could have almost been a training. I think it's interesting because it covers some of the good practices that we ask to follow in the project. So this is stuff that has been discussed and rediscussed and documented a lot. But it was kind of nice to see a fresh presentation that covers everything. There were a couple of things that I didn't like, but if you're new to
Yes.
open source contribution model, it may be a good one to see.
Yeah, I haven't watched or seen this one. I will give it a look. Maybe this becomes part of our sort of FAQ, or at least like whenever people have Git questions, maybe this can be a really good resource. How to make package managers scream. What was this one? And to be clear, I was stuck at the Zephyr table most of the time, so it's going to be mostly you talking about those sessions. So this one you saw as well.
Yeah, well, actually, I didn't see this one. My Arduino friends told me about it. So this is pretty cool. It's from it's from a guy that maintains a high performance computing lab somewhere in Belgium, and he has to do a lot of package management. So he put together this fun presentation about things to not do when you ship a software package. Stuff like weird build system, weird languages, weird dependencies. It's nothing about embedded, but it was funny, all right. He involved the audience as well. So the recording, I guess, is not as good as being in person, but yeah, the recording is there. So yeah, worth your time. On a similar front, this became a staple of FOSDEM recently, the KiCad status. So the KiCad guys go there every year. So if you do boards, this is interesting because every year they do a train of features that are arriving in the new version of KiCad, and FOSDEM kind of lines up with the major releases of KiCad. So every time, this is the project lead, and he has a train of slides with just bullet points for all the feature, and he goes like, oh, and now you can do this, and the audience goes, whoa, and 1 hour of this, but yeah, I love it. So yeah, good stuff you can do on boards. Do you see the closing talk?
And I guess we were slightly less lucky as last year in terms of Zephyr related talks. I did one myself on the Sunday about software bill of materials and adding support for SPTX version 3 to the tooling we already have in Zephyr. I was super happy to see that this was pretty successful when I posted the slides, etc. earlier this week. But yeah, I'll put the links to this one. We had a BOF as well, right, on Saturday, which I think might have been the first. We just never thought of applying, but it's actually reasonably easy to get a BOF, birds of a feather room, and so no agenda, no specific agenda, and yet we had a full room, an overflowing room, I should say.
You had slides. I didn't expect you to show up with slides.
Yeah, I think because what I typically do in those sessions, and I did that this time as well, is I start by asking who knows Zephyr, or rather, like, who's a maintainer, who's the collaborator, who's a contributor, etc. And based on the show of hands, I basically realized that it was worthwhile to do a quick intro to Zephyr, which I did. But then after that, it was people just asking and sharing what they had on their minds. So interesting questions and discussions. People asking about people wanting to have maybe more visibility into what's the story behind hardware in the loop, or just hardware testing in general for all those Zephyr boards and drivers supported upstream. So we shared, I guess the short answer to that question is for folks to follow closely what's going on in this particular case in the testing working group. If you care about X in the project Zephyr, it's very likely that if X is a big enough topic, there is actually a working group dedicated to it. If you care about tool chains, there is a tool chain working group. If you care about the overall process and governance, we have the process working group. If you care about testing, there is a testing working group, and so on and so forth. So yeah, hardware having a better story there is something that we're trying to address.
Yeah.
Similarly, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, hardware in the loop, we actually brought the subject up in TSC yesterday. So if you're wondering if we do anything with the comment we got on the buff, yeah, we did. Now, whether something's going to happen in practice or not, we don't know. But there's been some good comments.
It is happening, right? To be clear, it is happening. Like there's like I really encourage people to join the testing working group discussions. Maybe we need to do as a project a better job at communicating what's in the pipe and in the works. But
So
it's
as a start for hardware in the loop, just by asking to the committee, we found that there's another 2 companies that are running hardware in the loop test and publishing the results somewhere, which we didn't know about. So I think, there's been some idea to try and have maybe a unified UI for what platform have testing the run on hardware. Because the point that I was making is that if you're picking a platform for your project, kind of one of your responsibility in researching the platform, a part of that is evaluating how mature and stable is the SDK, right? This is something that you would normally do whenever you bootstrap a project. So I guess that if you're planning to use Zephyr, the 2 things would be to see how maintained are the driver and whether somebody is doing hardware testing of those driver. And I think that having some better visualization for this stuff could go a long way.
Yeah, but it's always interesting also in those, and FOSDEM is no exception. One would think it could be because it's people really well versed into open source mechanics. But I mean, Zephyr is an open source project. So yes, we could be better at providing everything and like all those test reports and all those like perfectly well managed everything, except that, I mean, every project member and collaborator, like whether it's individuals, companies, etc., everyone has to some extent their own agendas. And if people need stuff that's not there, it's open source. You need to participate and contribute. If you feel like something is missing, yes, you should point it, and you can, to some extent, complain that it's not there. But next step is, step up and help us scratch the itch and fix the issue, right? And I guess there was one of the things that we discussed for a bit of time during the BOF is like on a similar note. It's related to the way the project does release engineering and release management in general, and specifically the long-term support. It looks like we could be better at the way we apply all those fixes and backport all those fixes to our long-term support branches. And we identified some gaps in the way people sometimes don't understand why such or such issue is not being backported. But we will be improving the documentation, and just in general, I hope we can get to a point where we don't have to wait like 1 year until the next whatever face-to-face event, so that people can voice those questions they have. I mean, if you're unsure, show up on Discord, open a GitHub issue, ask, ping a maintainer from the area for which your question is relevant, and don't be shy. Like even if you're not sure.
Yeah, the backport question was interesting, and I don't think we quite have an answer, right? Like the person was asking how backport work, who is responsible for flagging a pull request for backport. And in the current state, either the maintainer or the contributor can, as long as they have permission to add a label. Right. And I think everybody would like a more precise, refined process, but in practice, you can't really dump this entirely on the maintainer. You need help from the contributor. And I was thinking today on how it works in Linux, and it's kind of the same story. They have a stable, kernel stable or something mailing list, and both the maintainer and the contributor can tag it, right?
Yeah, and again, in this case, not pointing fingers in any way towards the person who asked, but it also starts with if you need something, if there's this one bug that has been fixed and you would need it in the current LTS, just say it, and it stops there, right? Like if you're stuck in your project or whatever, drop a comment on the GitHub issue, pull request on Discord, and we then look into it. Whether we could be more systematic and automate more of that, I guess would be the cherry on the cake.
Yeah, I think that one of the problem is that not everybody uses LTS or stable releases, right? For example, the project I work on does not use LTS. So when I fix bugs, I don't immediately get any idea of thinking, oh, should be this backported? Was this broken in the LTS, or was it introduced after? It's just something that you don't think. You push your pull you upload your pull request and want to move on as fast as you can.
Yeah. And I guess as a segue into the another session that was interesting, a couple questions and discussions around something AI and Zephyr, and is the project going to be doing more, possibly to enable AI agents to be more efficient, that kind of stuff. So I was actually pleased in a sense that someone asked the question, and there wasn't like, I don't think there was anyone in the room who was like, yeah, no, we don't want any of that. Like AI is bad. I mean, I'm not saying AI is necessarily 100% good, but my point is that it feels like people seem to see the value in using tools such as LLMs and so on, including for embedded. And so, yeah, it was nice to start the discussion there, and I'm sure the project will be like we've had the discussion already a few months back. We already have things like GitHub Copilot to help those who want to get AI tools to help with code reviews and so on. And so that's for Zephyr. And then the closing keynote at FOSDEM was from the
Daniel Stamberg,
the curl benevolent dictator. We mentioned it a couple weeks back, and basically the day he did the keynote was effectively the day where curl was fully dropping their bug bounty program. For reasons we explained again a couple episodes ago, they are seeing way too many issues being open, and even including pull requests that are just quote unquote AI slop. And it's really a brilliant presentation where he goes through the sort of the history of how a year back or so, when those first reports started to come in, he and other like reviewers and maintainers, like initially they didn't even realize they were starting to receive reports that were like fully bogus, like things like talking about, hey, you have a critical security issue in function XYZ, except that the function XYZ didn't even exist. And like people sharing code dumps that were completely made up and that kind of stuff. And so he goes through that in the and through the why, basically, of why they're dropping the bug bounty program. But what I was really excited to see, or pleased to see rather, is that he's not completely shutting down the idea of using AI and LLMs and so on to help with development. Quite the opposite. Like, he was pretty clear that for things like code reviews, LLMs can be really good at telling you that you've been adding a bit of code to your code base that doesn't seem to be aligned in terms of the way the code is structured with everything else in your code base. You've been if you're doing error management one way in your code base, and for whatever reason you missed or you forgot to do it just the same in that particular patch, it is spotting it like immediately, and this is this is less cognitive load on the reviewers and so on. So that's the kind of things that he was sharing. There's also a nice I'll put the link in the notes, the folks from RedMonk, the analysts from RedMonk, they have also a really nice wrap up on AI Slopageddon and the toll AI can take on OSS maintainers and what the various projects and foundations do out there to try and put more boundaries around the use of AI. But I think again, and I'll let you, Fabio, comment on that. But my take after FOSDEM was that if even at FOSDEM, the conclusion is, yeah, this can actually be a pretty nice tool when it's used for the right thing, just like every other tool. Then I mean, things are looking good to some extent.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the whole thing has been shoved in our face for a while so far, but we're after overshooting beyond any reasonable level. I think we're slowly dialing back the effort and reaching the conclusion that it's a tool. You can use it in a good way or you can use it in a bad way. It's just a particularly powerful tool that is very easy to use in a bad way. So yeah, this seems to be the narrative, right? Like for the record, I was listening to the Embedded FM podcast today, and they were saying exactly the same. Like, yeah, you're gonna use it for code review. It gives you some good stuff. So
so when we recorded last week, we were just done with the Zephyr meetup. When I gave a talk at the meetup about AI and LLMs for Zephyr, and some of there's actually slides of mine in that talk that are just like verbatim the same as what was in the keynote or what's in the blog post that I'm mentioning from the ThinkMonk guys. Things like, and I'm sure many of you have experienced this in Zephyr, you label an issue with good first issue. And when you do that these days, like literally the day after, you have at least 2 pull requests from first-time contributors, hopefully actually humans, but still you can tell that it's likely people who got some help from some of those tools to work on the issue. Sometimes they end up like doing all their due diligence and they end up submitting a really nice and good, well-crafted PR. Sometimes it's noise. And so should we really label those issues as good first issues if it means that we will get more work triaging through the slope? I'm undecided actually. Like it's also a good way for like people early in career to get their hands dirty. Maybe they don't get their hands actually dirty as before, but still, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but again, the problem is that you can get more or less depending on how you use it, right? Like the one of the argument on the podcast I was listening today was, I could do the project with an LLM, but then I wouldn't have learned anything out of it. And sometimes you don't want to learn anything out of a problem. You just want to fix it. But sometimes you want to learn something. Like if you're doing a pull request, if you're doing a contribution for an open source project, you probably want to learn something. You don't want just to have one more listed contribution in your
and it's your responsibility as the contributor to offer to the project something that you actually own and understand, that you can motivate. But lots of great resources, talks and articles and otherwise. As a random shout out before we wrap up, as always, there is always a Zephyr meetup near you. Coming up later in March, I think. There's one in Nagoya at the Brother Museum.
I'm so jealous.
I will be there. I don't know about you, Fabio.
No, I wish.
Would love to actually hear if you're from the area. Drop us a comment on either on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Say hi, subscribe, give us your feedback. We are always interested in hearing how we can improve. It was nice, Fabio, to catch up, to do the FOSDEM debrief, because we can never do it like live at FOSDEM. There's just so much. We all take mental notes and then we chat about it after, like we just did. That's it. We will be back in a week time. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.